Mount Burgess Mining, listed on the Australian Stock Exchange, has got a polymetallic base metals project in Western Ngamiland, Botswana, which is situated right up against the Namibian border. To date, we have basically developed two resources, both polymetallic zinc, lead, silver. Also now we can see that there is a potential to include vanadium and germanium. The two deposits, the Kihabi deposit and the Nglu deposit, are situated about 7 kilometers apart. And we intend to start mining at the Nglu deposit because it is a very shallow basin-shaped deposit. It has a maximum depth of 64 meters. It is totally oxidized, and the average depth to the base of mineralization from all the holes that have been drilled in it to date is only 39.5 meters. So it's a very, very shallow deposit. What we can also say about the actual holes that have been drilled to date, on average, 57.5% of every hole drilled to date contains recoverable mineralization, leaving only 25% of unmineralized quartz wacky, because the mineralization is in an oxidized quartz wacky, and just over 17%, the remaining 17% is actually Kalahari sand, which is simply a scrape-off job. If you go to the figure 2 in the presentation, that shows you the actual depth to base of mineralization of the holes that we have drilled to date. And what is interesting is that from recent drilling, we now know that the actual vanadium content of the mineralization increases the mineralized zones way beyond the zinc, lead, and silver zones. So that is why it is going to have a very, very low stripping ratio. What we have done recently is that we have split the northern section of the Kihabi, of the Nglu deposit into two areas. There is what we call the southwest area of the northern section and the remaining area of the northern section. And if you go to figure 3, this shows you those two sections. And then if you go to figures 4 to 4A, that shows you the individual drill holes in that southwestern section of the northern section. And if you go to figures 5 and 5A to 5J, that shows you all the holes that are in the remaining section. And that shows you the grades of the holes there, and particularly figure 5 shows you the continuity of those grades and how reliable the actual mineralization is down to basement. So basically, as I say, we intend to start mining here at the Nglu deposit. We've still got to do about another 2,600 meters of drilling to get it into a 2012 JORC code compliant, measured and indicated resource. And that basically will be an average of about 48 meters per hole. So again, it's a very, very shallow deposit. So once we've done that, we will then be able to quote a resource compliant with the 2012 JORC code. And from there, we then shall be able to go into a pre-feasibility study, then followed by a definitive feasibility study. To date, from the test work that we have done so far, we know that we can recover zinc metal on site. We know we can recover 93% of zinc metal through solvent extraction and electrowinning. And we also now know that we can recover just over 80% of vanadium pentoxide, because our vanadium pentoxide is in the oxide vanadate known as desclazite. And desclazite it's very easy to get the vanadium pentoxide out of desclazite. It's a simple process of gravity separation. And then what's left in the tails, you can then subject that to flotation, and you can then use that, you can use a hydroxamate for recovery. So we know now that we can recover both zinc and vanadium on site. We also now are waiting to find out if we can recover the germanium on site, because if it can be recovered on site, it could be a significant credit for the project. Right now, germanium is trading at around about $1,800 a kilo, and we have some very good germanium credits, both at NU and at Kihabi. The reason we're starting at NU, as I said, is because it is a very shallow deposit, but it's also totally oxidized. And being totally oxidized, it is a lot more easy to treat and recover metals on site. When we go to the Kihabi deposit, which we've currently got 14.4 million tons at 2.8% zinc, lead, silver, which is the zinc equivalent grade, the top quarter of the top 25% of the Kihabi deposit is still in an oxide zone, and the remaining 75% at the bottom of the deposit is in sulfides. So we will need to, we can go, once we finish at the NU deposit, we can then go to the oxide zone of the Kihabi deposit, and we can use the same processes there. And again, we know from Kihabi that we can produce zinc metal on site from solvent extraction and electrowinning. The lead is actually still in galena, so that will need to be treated by flotation, and then we sell a concentrate, which is about 55% or 55% mineralized. Again, at Kihabi, recently we have done some drilling, and from that drilling we have found that there are some very significant vanadium and germanium grades. So if you go to the Kihabi drill hole map, you will see in, where's the thing? Yeah, if you go to figure 6A, that shows you in the actual text of the Kihabi thing, that shows you the actual zinc portion of the Kihabi deposit, which is about 2.4 kilometers long. And then figure 6B shows you the lead portion, and that's the two combined. If you go to figure 7 of the Kihabi drill hole map, that shows the southwest zone of 1,050 meters, which is going to be one pit. And then it shows the northeastern zone of 750 meters, which is going to be a second pit. If you then go to figures 7A, B, C, and D, that shows you individual sections across the deposit, across the length of the deposit, of the zinc portion of the zinc grade, and a separate section for the lead grade. And as I've said, figure 8 shows recent drilling where the zinc, lead, and silver equivalent grade is shown in the various drill hole sections there. And then figure 9 shows the recoverable vanadium pentoxide grade alongside the zinc, lead, and silver grades. And figure 10 shows the germanium grade alongside of the zinc, lead, and silver. There is a significant amount of vanadium in the Kihabi resource. And if you go to figure 11, that shows you a Google photo of the actual length of the Kihabi deposit, and it shows zone 1 and zone 4 in red. And both of those zones contain very good vanadium grades. If you go to figure 12, that shows you the zone 1 drill hole map for vanadium, and then moving on to figures 13 to 19, that shows the actual individual drill sections for zone 1 with the actual vanadium assay grades for the drill holes there. If you go to figure 20, that shows zone 4 of the drill hole map for vanadium, and then figures 21 to 27 show you the individual drill sections with the vanadium grades for that zone 4. There is also when we previously did a resource for Kihabi, it was a 2004 JORC code resource, and it was based mainly on drilling that was done up to the end of 2006. And that resource contained about 3.3 million ounces of silver. What we have done since then, there was a lot more drilling was done, both RC drilling and diamond core drilling, and a lot more holes have come up with silver grades. So we recently put out an announcement showing those silver areas and the sorts of grades that we're getting for silver. So basically what we've still got to do at Kihabi is that we've got to do more drilling there to confirm the continuity of those silver grades, and it is extremely likely that the silver content of the Kihabi deposit is going to go well over the 3.3 million ounces. Also recently what we did, we put out an announcement which shows some of the copper grades in the Kihabi deposit. Right now, the Kihabi deposit does not include in its resource any grades for copper or vanadium or germanium. It's only for zinc, lead, and silver. So we've got to look at the potential for what the contribution is going to be for the vanadium, the germanium, and the copper. So if you go to figure 29, that shows the actual area where we're getting some reasonable copper grades. And again, as similar to the silver portion, we've got to do more drilling in that area so that we can confirm the continuity of those copper grades. And as I said, then we can include the actual copper content into the actual overall resource, the resource category. And so that the 2.84% zinc, lead, silver grade that we've got at the moment, that will definitely be increased with all of the vanadium, the germanium, and the copper grades. But we've got to do the drilling to be able to show what that's going to be. We've then got some regional targets, which all have, some of them still need to be drilled. We have drilled some of them. One of them is known as the 1-2 West, and again, it's got some vanadium in it. If you go to figure 30, you will see the vanadium grades that we've so far got from 1-2 West. We've also got, like in figure 31, we've got further grades, vanadium grades in the Kihabi North. And then finally, in figure 32, at the Gossan anomaly, there are some very, very good vanadium grades. And previous test work or assay test work has also shown that the highest germanium grades are actually at the Gossan anomaly. But again, further drilling needs to be done to confirm all of this. The good thing about the Gossan anomaly is that It's a very, very shallow deposit. The mineralization basically starts at surface. It's an outcropping gossan. And when we get the GNU deposit into production, it is very likely that we'll be able to supplement feed from the gossan anomaly into the GNU production, because again, it's got some very, very good vanadium grades, and it'll add significantly to the overall production profile of the GNU deposit. So if you go to sections, if you go to figures 33 to 36, you can go through all of those gossan drill sections, and you can see the sorts of vanadium grades that we're getting there. So at this point in time, as I said, we're going to concentrate on trying to get the GNU deposit into production. We've got to do that drilling first, the 2,600 meters of drilling. And as I said before, once that's complete, we can then go into a pre-feasibility study and then follow that by a feasibility study. Thank you.